It's time for the annual Kinda Funny membership drive. This year is half over and we've been busy. We've created a membership option that gets you all of the core content at our lowest price ever. We've moved the Kinda Funny Gamescast to a daily format and you've gotten more than 130 Gregways in 2024 alone. If you love what we do and haven't gotten a membership or let your membership lapse, we're asking you to support the 11-person independent small business you love, even if it's just for the month. We've even added a limited amount of pledge upgrades on Patreon that would get your into Kinda Funny Games Daily. This month, look out for free Gregways from the vault on the weekends and weekly public happy hours where we take Patreon member calls live for everyone as previews of what a membership gets you each and every month. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you for your support.
What's up and welcome back to the Kinda Funny Gamescast for Thursday, August 1st, 2024. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes, and today I am joined by Lucy James.
Hi.
How you doing, Lucy?
I'm very well. How are you?
Really, really good. Really happy to have you on the show. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be the most British I've sounded in a long time.
Oh, yeah? How come? 'Cause were you just over there? Oh, because the game you're talking about. Well, she was just over there, and I know when you're hanging out with people, all of a sudden it's like you start talking like them again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I sound American most of the
What
time.
whiny bitch has Tim been hanging out with? Then, you know what I mean?
I've been hanging out with you so much, Greg. I've been hanging out with you so much. Of course, that is the Big Daddy, Greg Miller.
He flipped that on me real good, actually. That was really good. That was real good. You got me.
And rounding out the group today, we have the man that spent $1,400 to play Bloodborne in 60 frames per second, the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Okay.
I support you. I support you.
Thank you, Luce.
Somebody has to.
It's about $13.87.
Okay.
With tax?
I have to make sure I cancel that one thing that gives me faster internet downloads from one of those. It's called like one. It's just a really one that I didn't feel particularly great about putting my credit card info into, but I did it to like download the file a little bit faster. So if I don't cancel it, it'll definitely push me above.
Are you talking about like a megaupload.com type thing?
Don't ask questions.
Wow,
It's very personal
Andy.
type stuff.
I can't wait to get all the details on this because I knew that this was going to be like a story, but I didn't expect it was going to be something that made me judge you, you know? But here we go. Here we go, everybody. Like I was saying, this is the Kinda Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about video games, all the things that we love about them, all the biggest topics, reviews, previews. Andy getting into some really weird, debatably illegal stuff. We'll have to wait and find out. I'm not so sure, but for a chance to
the
be
internet.
part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats. As we go, a little housekeeping for you. Kinda Funny Games is an 11-person small business all about live talk shows. You already got one of those, Kinda Funny Games Daily. It was me and Snowbike Mike talking all about today's news, including Avowed potentially getting delayed out of 2024. Up next, you're going to get Mike playing Stormgate, a new RTS game that he's really excited to dig into. And if you're a Kinda Funny member, there's two cool things you're getting today. One of them is Gregway, where Greg talks all about...
Oh, you don't have the copy from Games Daily? I
No.
liked how I wrote it on Games Daily. It was the itch I can't scratch and how it led me to PC gaming.
Well, there we go, everybody. I'm sure that is
That seems
entirely
pretty cool, huh?
genuine.
Did you like that? You like? I bet you had a good laugh when you got that Steam message from me last night.
I was playing a little bit of that No Man's Sky last night. I get a little boop, boop, pop up, and I was like, "What is this? Greg Miller Steam stuff? Pretty cool."
You know, you could put
I
the
don't
Steam
like
De-
this.
you could
I
put the Steam
know.
Deck on the TV.
Yeah?
Did it for the first time since 2022. Looks pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What,
I
Lucy,
don't
you don't like
like
it. What
this.
don't you like about it?
No, because he's
I'm
going
just a
to...
typical PC gamer like you, huh, Luce? Come on! What are we doing over there? Huh? Give me your PayPal info.
You know it's a bit. You know it's a bit.
Why did he turn into Watto doing it? You know, I'm a PC gamer.
Hey, we all do the PC game, huh?
Oh, my Lord. Thank you for me. Oh, actually, no, the other thing. Today, you'll be able to, if you're a Kinda Funny member, watch us do the live recording of our Logan MCU interview rewatch. But what's special about this one is we will be adding it to the ranking. We're going to actually vote on where it stands. And this is a big one because obviously we did Electra. currently holding down the bottom of our entire list. But this one might be a fight for the top. You know, we've loved Logan. Like, how high is it going to get when you actually compare it, not just against the Fox movies, but compare it against all of the MCU movies? So let's check it all out. Thank you for making our dreams a reality, Patreon producers Carl Jacobs and Delaney Twining. Today, we're brought to you by Shady Rays, Hims, and Portillo merch, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's start with the topic of the show. We're going to do two topics of the show today. One of them is Andy's 60 frames per second Bloodborne adventures. And then we're going to do a review of Thank Goodness You're Here. So stay tuned for all of that because give a little tease here, Lucy. Is it good? Is this something people need to know about?
Oh my God, yes, please.
So stay
Tell
tuned.
your friends about that game.
Stay tuned for all of that. But let's start off, Andy, with you. You've been on a lot of these shows, giving little hints, giving little teases about what you've been up to the last couple weeks, the nefarious actions you've taken.
Right.
Tell us all about them.
Okay, so let's see here. I've never played the Bloodborne DLC, The Old Hunters.
What?
And when I beat the video game in 2019,
And he's the
Lucy,
biggest fan, right? That's the thing.
It's little character in the intro. You dressed up as the hunter.
I beat the video game in 2019 and said, I can't wait to play the DLC in 60 frames per second, and that'll happen any day now. But I promise you I will not ever play this game, the DLC, until I can play it in 60 frames per second. And
you
then
yell this at the moon or something, like you made this pledge.
Pretty much, yeah. I was just like promising to myself, and then stupid little me in 2019 had no idea that it was just nowhere on the horizon. It was never ever going to pop up
Do
anywhere.
you think COVID got in the way?
Well, I did, I was on the stream last night, and then I started talking to myself in 2019. I was like, you fucking little idiot. Not only are you not going to play Bloodborne DLC in 60 frames per second, your whole life's going to change. Your whole prime will be taken away from you. Your athletic prime, where you could have been trying out for NBA teams, that's gone, right? I also talked about you're going to play.
Still got those 4 years eligibility for college.
That's true. But I was also like, hey, 2019 Andy, you're going to play a pretty cool game called Elden Ring. That's going to be a pretty neat experience for you. So this was something that I've always wanted to do. And then once I start the hyper fixation stuff, it's just like, it's full into it. And
5 years later, here you are.
And here I am. Yeah, here I am.
Hyper fixated.
I think just with my time with modding games, not that I do much other than just moving files into folders and the occasional complicated thing, and I'll be like, wow, you figured that out. Great job, Andy. Because I love tinkering. You know, I love tinkering, and that's partly why I love PC gaming. And I got to assume it's why
Me
people
too. Got Fall London running anyway.
Exactly. It's got to be why people love fixing a car, at home. You got your Ford pinned up, and it's like, man, I'm gonna get this, ultra graphics, ray tracing, all that stuff. And I knew I always wanted to do this. I just didn't know what the best way would be. And watched a lot of YouTube videos, read a lot of Reddit threads, and everywhere you could possibly look, I was looking, and I just was like, the only solution is to buy a model number CFI 1015A PlayStation 5.
Can I get a picture of a
I love that
CFI 1050A?
You know that so well because you've searched and searched and searched.
Had eBay alerts up for that.
Oh, absolutely. And it broke my heart to look at my 1015A and be like, I wish I could mod you, but I can't, because once you update, you can't go back. And that's always a thing. It's like that was always like the crapshoot of, if I'm going to spend a lot of money on somebody's factory sealed launch PlayStation 5, god dang, I hope I don't fuck it up.
There's one if I ever saw it.
It just looks like a...
JG says it looks like a PlayStation 5, Greg. JG, you put me a 1050 75A in front of me and a 1055 75B. I'll tell the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
The 1015A, 1115A, 1215A, all very similar looking, right? But the 1115A may not be able to be fully jailbreakable. The 1215A, definitely not. Like, no shot you can do that. So you can't just buy one right now for $500, $400 or whatever. You're screwed. You can't ever go back to a prior firmware. You need one that's like new in box that hasn't been updated at all.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask why, because I assume ones we got at launch would be that model, but we've updated.
Yes, and that's the one that I have at home, which is it came with the right firmware, but it's been updated a multitude of times, and it's just way past that. Go ahead, Tim.
So I'm loving this. Reminds me a lot of my PSP days back in the day.
Yeah.
Like figuring out the firmware, and you don't upgrade past this, or else you're gonna be messed up. But I was very aware of all the fun, cool things you could do with the PSP back in the day. Besides Bloodborne running at 60 frames per second on this, what are some of the things people can do besides the piracy stuff? But like, are there other kind of pet projects that you could now potentially do if you wanted to besides Bloodborne?
The other 60 frame thing that everybody also goes for is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ooh,
That's the other option that you can get. And that's done by a modern name Illusion, who they go by the name username Illusion, and they're the ones who are making these sort of patches possible on the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
So this all started with Lance McDonald, who is Man-Fight Dragon on Twitter. Dude, I've been a fan of for quite some time, watching his YouTube videos. He does a lot of data mining for a lot of old Souls games and a lot of just old video games in general, but he very, very talented, like, hacker man, right? And he goes into these old games and will find deleted bosses from Bloodborne, this whole deleted area in Dark Souls 2, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. And I've just, the nerd in me loves finding out that stuff and how you get into how you're able to get into this system that isn't a PC. It just seems like really, really difficult, but super interesting. And leading up to, I think, like 2020 is when Lance McDonald was like, hey, I think I'm going to get this thing running 60 frames per second on PS4 Pro.
Is he related to Michael McDonald?
Unfortunately not. Well, maybe. Who knows?
Old McDonald?
He started hacking Bloodborne on PS4.
Girls can truly know Andy's obsession with this game.
The only reason I know who that guy is because he's in The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh,
Like, they
he's so
just
great.
keep playing his
Yeah,
DVD or something.
yeah.
That's
So
genuinely
good.
the only
Andy
reason.
spent too much.
And so eventually Lance McDonald starts tweeting out a lot of updates and essentially like, hey, this is possible. I just did it. It's running at 60 frames on PS4 and 720p. It's possible. It can be done. So there was a lot of like scuttlebutt of like this. You'll never be able to get Bloodborne running at 60 frames per second because the animations are based on 30 frames, and it would break the whole game. And Lance was like, I did it. Here it is.
Bet, he said. He said bet.
And so that got a lot of people like really, really jacked up and like, oh, buying PS4s, and people started getting their games modded for PS4. And then when the PS5 came out, the modder Illusion was able to get that PS4 patch. This was like late last year, able to get the PS4 patch running on PS5 in 1080 60 frames per second instead of 720 60 frames per second. And I was like, I want that. I want that so bad. I want to be able to experience that. I want to see this game running at a frame rate that I've experienced all of the other Souls games in. And it's just such a tragedy that it's still stuck there because the game has, aside from that, the game also on PS4 or PS5, it doesn't even run at a consistent 30 frames per second. There's like weird frame hitching. Yeah, there's like.
Does it impact loading as well? Load times?
I don't know actually. I can't notice it. I haven't really noticed a whole lot of difference. I hadn't booted up Bloodborne in a long time.
Is loading an issue for you in Bloodborne?
If you, I think just kind of going back to it, you're like, oh, I remember a time when load screens were a thing. And if you're dying multiple times to Ludwig.
So Andy wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you haven't got to him yet, huh?
Haven't played.
Well,
Yeah, haven't fought Ludwig yet.
Wait till that one. It's a fun one.
Well, that's also a very fun one because that part of the game, that part of the patch is still broken.
Oh.
But we'll talk about that later.
Oh, I'm not feeling good about
We'll
this.
talk about that later. So,
Also, is this illegal? Is PlayStation going to come for you?
it's on a different account that isn't connected to the
stop
internet.
listening. It's okay.
And technically, like, this is all, these patches and these updates are running from my base game, not the base game that I had on my old PS5. I had to buy another one. And then I bought a different one as well.
Wait, so hang on. What's the tally? What are we at now?
Okay, so hold on. Okay, everybody chill out.
I thought for a second he was going to bust out like his checkbook and go through line by line.
Here's the spreadsheet.
Everybody chill the fuck out. So I started looking at it on eBay, and I was like, I want one of these launch models, right?
And how can you trust it? That's actually
good
locked
reviews.
up.
Good reviews. You
Okay.
know.
Is there buyer protection? I assume on
Yeah.
eBay?
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of good reviews and stuff like that. So I looked it up, and there was like, hey, this one's $900, but it's the 1150, and I was like, I don't want to buy this and like really regret it, And then you start looking at the ones that are 1015 models, the factory sealed ones, and they start getting real expensive too. They start getting in the 1100, 1200 price range, and you make a decision. You commit to it. You're like, you want
Greatness.
this.
Mike would tell you to commit to greatness.
You want this. Yeah, exactly.
How
and
did-
like Mike said, even better, that's like 3 fucking sweaters. You know what I mean? For me. And I loved that. And I was like, I love that mentality.
Yeah.
How did it feel hitting buy it now?
I didn't really think of it too much until like 2 days later. I was like, oh yeah, that purchase was made. And you see the negative effects, but the whole hope,
negative effects.
the whole hope is like, hey, hopefully stream revenue and merch sales will sort of counteract some of those costs, right? So it was like 1,300 something, right? Like 1310, 1320.
Plus your 2 copies of Bloodborne.
Yeah, so I bought the launch copy of Bloodborne, like not a launch one, but just like a copy of Bloodborne. And
Does it have to be the disc?
yes and no. Like I want to do it the legal way, so I buy the disc so that it runs off the disc. But
And then you bought an extra one just for goodwill?
and then I bought the Peggy 18, the
British.
the Game of the Year edition, the one that comes with the Old Hunters DLC. Not knowing a lot of how this patches, it was a nightmare, Tim. Like it was a lot of days.
Sounds like
It was a lot of days and a lot of outdated YouTube tutorials. Like some of these things are just so freaking outdated and they throw you off. And there's a lot of sites you can illegally download shit from. And I think that the reason why some of these YouTube tutorials are even harder to sort of figure out what they're talking about is because they are trying to be as legal as possible when talking about this. So they will never say, go to this website to download the package files or whatever. They don't do that. Like, and I get that. I totally understand. Totally. So they get taken down. So this is like their way of kind of skirting the rules while still telling you, hey, you could void your warranty and like the cops aren't going to come after you for jailbreaking your thing, but just don't illegally download stuff. And they kind of like wink and they're like, there's ways to look out there if you want, allegedly, right? But
Allegedly.
Use that insight.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Eyes I got to open. It's a good little quote right there, Tim. It's a good one.
I'm practicing.
Yeah. Anyway, so you got to you have to essentially go a lot of different ways about this. The jailbreaking thing is a hilarious process because there's no web browser on the PS5.
Oh.
The web browser on the PS4, PS3, you can just bring up the web, get
the Wii.
Oh.
But like you couldn't connect it online, right? Because if you did, then it would ask for the update.
So you have to like change. You have to change where your DNS is pointing to.
Gotcha.
And it the funniest thing about this all is like you need to just get to a web browser. The funniest part of the thing about all this is like there's no web browser. How do we get to the web browser? So you go into like settings, account management, PS5 help, and it brings up the PS5 help website.
God, yeah.
And you scroll to the
hilarious.
you scroll to the very, very bottom. And there's like a privacy tab. And you open up the privacy tab, and then it opens up, follow us on X or Instagram or YouTube. You have to click the YouTube thing. It opens up a YouTube page. Then you go to sign in on the top right, and then you have to not sign in. You have to X out and then go to privacy. You go to the very, very bottom. Then you hit Google. Bam, now you have a Google page.
You're in Google, baby.
Now you're in Google. And that's what we needed to get to Google
God,
to
I
start
love
the
it.
jailbreak.
Now-
And it was exhilarating, Tim. And this is like 10% of the process.
I know this is all building. You're going to stream it and do your own thing on your channel. But like, were you recording all of this? Because this would be just I would have loved Andy Cortez vlogs.
The Psych
of like,
Odyssey.
End of night one. It's been 8 hours.
Dude,
I'm nowhere close. I might have wasted $1,300.
I would have
doing
loved
this.
to interview you throughout. Just
God,
like
that would've been good.
Every 5 hours, just check in on your mental state.
Dude, it was the most frustrating thing because there are so many variables that can mess up and not work.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're doing in the right or wrong order. And essentially, we're finally at the Google page. We go to the site. We're able to jailbreak the thing. and then you have to like install this payload that then blah blah blah.
payload?
Oh yeah.
This is what you've been protecting in Overwatch.
You have to receive the payload, and from there it's like, all right, the thing's jailbroken. Now you got to get this freaking thing running, and then I'm getting to a point where it's like, all right, you got to download Python and go open your command prompt, and that's when it gets really really like confusing, because on the PS4 the files would just be there and you just upload them and it's easy to go. But this is the hacker, modder, engineer person illusion saying, hey, all that stuff that Lance McDonald made for PS4, I'm getting that like made possible on your PS5, but it requires a lot more steps. And it was a nightmare. It was like just a lot of trial and error, man. And I was so pissed off at times. And then I feel like I'd have a breakthrough and I would have a break heart. Like my heart would break.
A breakdown.
Yeah.
You have a breakdown.
I would have a breakdown. And then I'd just be like, and then I'll take a break. I'd be like, fuck that. I'm going to stream just something. I just need to not do this. And then after
were you keeping the chat posted on all this as it happened?
Yeah, every now and then I'd kind of let them know that, hey, we made some strides today. And then those strides would have to be walked back because So like again, the problem is just a lot of outdated YouTube tutorials, a lot of outdated instructions of how to do things, because things are made a lot more easier legitimately today than they were 4 months ago, 3 months ago, 5 months ago. And eventually I DM Lance McDonald.
Oh my God! Straight to
I'm
the
going to the
source.
fucking
We're going
top.
to the source, baby.
And I'm like, hey, do you have good instructions for this stuff if I subscribe to your Patreon? And then he was like,
Only one way to find out.
and he was like,
Not everyone's like you, Greg.
the kind of funny method.
and he was like, no, but I know who you are. I'm going to help you. Let me walk you through this. And it was 30 minutes of the most easy, concise way to do this shit.
I love that.
Did you tell him you should put this on your Patreon?
And so I'm asking him like, wait, so all those other files he was like, no, you don't need it. No. You have the disc. You go download the legitimate patch from like, because there's a lot of websites that'll put up legitimate patches from Sony. Like, and so here's like a website that it's just the 1.09 patch for Bloodborne. You need to have that installed in order to get this thing to run. And then there's like so many other easy ways of things that don't require me to use Python anymore. That are just it's like a click thing with your PS5. Bam, it's in. You upload. Start the game. Then it says 60 frames unlocked. On the bottom right, it says this patch was made with love by Lance McDonald. And I was like, oh my God, I got this fucker running.
We're in.
It's not perfect,
So that's where I want to jump in.
but it's
here.
good.
That's where I want to jump in, Andy. I love that you're doing this. I think it's very, very cool. I think we've all, in different ways, had projects that we're like, get obsessed with and try to figure out, we got to make this happen. It's some weird shit. My problem is, though, I always have a fear that even once you get it working, is it going to work all the way through? The amount of finagling I've done, even with like Super Mario 64, like RTX edition, like all that stuff. Amazing, super cool. You look at the YouTube videos, I'm like, I want that. I need that.
Yeah.
But then you start playing, I'm like, but I'm going to invest. Mario 64 is a weird one for me because I've played it a bazillion times, but I'm still like, am I going to invest all these hours? Then maybe you hit a game-breaking bug and it just will not continue. And normal video games come out and that's the problem sometimes.
Of course.
But when you're hacking, when you're doing all this shit and making things happen that aren't supposed to happen, do you have the fear, Andy?
Oh, 1,000%. I worry about everything every day. So like I'm constantly
Don't worry
worrying.
about me.
I'm just always worrying, But yeah, of course, because reading around forums is like, hey, I'm getting like these weird sound stutter issues, and usually it's like, oh, restart it. And restarting requires you to redo the jailbreak, and it's not like this crazy process. Everything's ready. It's just a click thing, but 40 to maybe 30 or 40% of the time the browser crashes when you're installing the thing. So you have to restart it again, and it's just annoying. It's not
Sure.
It's not this may never ever work again. It's just kind of tedious, And so yeah, all that definitely runs through my mind. And then while DMing with Lance McDonald and him telling me, oh, by the way, when you get to the Ludwig fight, you're gonna want to uninstall this 60 frame thing because it's not gonna work in 60 frames because it crashes.
Just Ludwig?
Just the Ludwig fight. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's great to know. But then a little breakthrough the next day, he DMs me again. He's like, damn, I found the fix and I kind of want to patch it. And he was like, and also I kind of want to get it working in 4K. because
my God,
he was like,
yeah,
but
there we go.
but here's the thing, like Dark Souls 3 is based on PS4 Pro architecture, which PS4 Pro architecture allows games to run in 4K.
Yep.
Bloodborne is limited there, so that's like he was like, it's a lot of work, but it's not the most impossible thing to do. So I was like, oh shit, are we gonna get
So
like
you're pushing this forward.
so like
Ted,
I think I sparked something Lance for
Yeah.
him to be like, I found that fucking fix, man. I can't. He's like,
I love
shit.
this.
I think I could get that little fight fix
He's like,
or
you're my
whatever.
muse, Andy.
That would be so much. That would be hours and hours and hours of gameplay away, and probably like weeks of gameplay because I'm not going to be able to like beat all of this in a week or whatever based on my streaming schedule. But that's definitely one of the worries. It's like, is this going to work consistently or not? What I've seen so far is that as long as I set the thing to sleep, when I put the PS5 to sleep, it comes back and it's fine. I don't have to rerun everything.
It's in a rest mode or whatever.
It's more of a restart thing. Yeah, when it's in rest mode, it's totally fine. It's chill. It comes back, it's normal. Things work. Things look good. It's so smooth. I like walking just through that initial area, Lucy, when you kill that little werewolf in Yosefka's clinic. It's just like, oh, it's so good. And this is what I've always wanted. And then watching how jaggy everything is. Like, this game has some of the worst anti-aliasing ever, where you move the right stick a tiny bit, you move that camera, and it's like every jaggy dances on the walls and all these like iron pieces of architecture. And now I'm just like, oh shit, what if Lance gets it working in 4K? Like, I'll definitely revisit it, of course, but I don't know, man. It's so exciting that once I got that thing working, I felt like, because I thought I was going to give up several times.
Yeah.
But with all the issues I was having, with all the fit and having,
Is it the investment that kept pushing you forward?
um,
Because you thought about giving up. I would think at that point it's like you're like,
no, it's less of the investment.
you're
And
year 3 at college at this point. The tuition's a sunk cost. Just finish.
it's less of the investment and more of the, I don't want to let the chat
You don't
down
wanna let
I
Lance
really,
down.
because I thought this was going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought this was going to be a much more easier process. Turns out it was easier than I initially thought it was going into it. But telling, when I'm sort of hyping this up to the chat and being like, I'm gonna get this shit working, like, it's gonna be super, super sick. I'm excited for some of y'all to experience this for the first time, because a lot of y'all haven't seen Bloodborne yet. And I just love I'm the guy that like goes over to your house and I'm like, let's watch Breaking Bad, dude. Like, let's fucking watch this masterpiece of it. I'm stoked to share that with people. And when I was so close to giving up, but I didn't want to let people down. I was like, I would stream and then come back and be like, it's 10 p.m. I can do this until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Let's do this. And then I would eventually fail. And the next day, wake up and be like, let's fucking hit it again, man. And like, it was so difficult, but really, really exciting when I got the thing working. I was in my room just like, oh my God. Like, it was awesome, dude. It was
This
so
is in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. Barrett like gets out, puts on his nightcap, gets his little candle, walks up.
Another question I have for you, and this does kind of wade a little bit into the potentially more illegal side of this, but is Bloodborne, and this is coming from ignorance a bit, is Bloodborne capable of being emulated?
So right now, there are people working on PS4
Top
emulators and ROMs, but it's so early.
Okay.
A massive breakthrough happened a couple weeks ago with getting this game to work in emulation through PC, and by a massive breakthrough, they were able to see the logo title, and it's all like red and black. There's no other color. So like, it's going to be a process to get this. Like, think about
I like how it's like legitimately a scientific breakthrough. Like,
Oh, yeah.
No,
we're
I
not there for
love
the
it.
vaccine, but we've done this one piece. That's a ray of hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely like, this thing will happen in the similar way to where you could emulate everything except like, really, I guess the PS3, right? Because I don't really know.
Cell processor, yeah.
Yeah, like in the same way that whenever a new thing happens,
There are PS3 emulators, though. Like, you can play PS3 games. I mean, I think. I don't
I
know
heard.
that.
yeah, okay, yeah, you're right.
Allegedly.
I haven't messed around a whole lot with that, but just allegedly, I was, playing Breath of the Wild in 4K, 60 frames per second.
Allegedly.
Does this make us complicit?
But it
Legally?
just,
we only know these are rumors.
Innocent.
but it
Alleged.
takes so long, right? Like these are not. They're barely getting the whole console to be emulated in a way, and the fact that like getting that Bloodborne logo up in all red and black font, looking just like it's being played on a Virtual Boy, that was like a massive breakthrough in the emulation community. To be like, holy shit, we see a logo.
It's possible.
We see a logo. And no, they always knew it was possible. It was just like, oh,
it's happening.
Yeah, it's happening, right? It's gonna take like a long time for that ever to happen. I would say. I wouldn't put a date on it because I just don't have that much experience or knowledge in the emulation or like modding community. But I know that did happen. And I just don't want to wait that long.
Yeah, no, I get it. Though.
Yeah.
So you made this call because this was the best option to play Bloodborne in 60 frames per second at this time.
At this time.
And now you're doing it.
And yeah. And then...
Wait, there's more?
I was going to say, well, you know, I was always going to surprise people and do it this weekend on Saturday.
A big stream of it?
Yeah. And then little streamer named Kai Cenat tweets out, doing a Bloodborne marathon stream on Friday. I was like, fuck.
I saw that last night, and like I shed like a single tear for you. Like, damn.
I mean, it's not like I would have ever had any, like, I'm not saying that, oh, he's going to take away my viewership. It's just like,
I mean, maybe though, you know, you never know.
yeah, I mean, we are
Got a lot
very
of
equal in
viewers.
terms of viewership. You're right. You are right, Baron. But I just feel like I'm copying him now, but like, I'm still going to do it.
Oh, dude.
No.
Do it.
Ride the wave.
Ride it, man.
People will be over there. They'll see this, then they'll see on there. Wait, this guy's doing it in 4K. How do you do that?
No, 60. It's
60
it's-
frames.
It's
You
1080.
might
I
have a
lost it.
thing. Was it Dan Reichert was playing Elden Ring and Kai Cenat like raided him and then dropped like 50 gifts up?
Oh, we're right.
So-
well, that was after he beat it. And Kai's really bad at these games.
Yeah.
But he's persistent as a motherfucker, and that's what I respect about him. He'll spend, 9 hours on a singular boss, and I love that.
Does summons work in this? It's offline, right? So no.
The only summons you'd have are the NPC summons.
Are you playing like version 1.0?
No, it's 1.09. That's the only way you could
Very
get this
specific
whole
one.
thing running. Otherwise, the jailbreak wouldn't run on it.
How many versions past that are there? Like, how different is the latest version than that?
I'm not sure what the other versions are. I just always knew that, like,
1.0,
I
the
think
load
one-
times were ridiculous.
I think 1.09 is the latest.
Okay,
Because
cool.
when you go to that website and you can get different versions of the patches of the update files, not like the game file. It's just like, this is the game file is like 30 something gigs or whatever, but the update is 4 gigs or something. And I think 1.09 is the latest one that requires it.
Well, everybody, stay tuned to Andy Cortez because I'm sure there's going to be many updates. Hopefully, no heartbreak after this. I'm concerned, Andy. I'm concerned.
I'm just expecting crashes. I know there will be hiccups and hangups and things like that. And maybe if I leave it sitting there too long while I, go to the restroom, it might break. I don't know. I'm expecting the worst to
Problems.
happen. So I think I'm okay with it,
Well, you know what I'm okay with? Your support. What a segue, everybody. If you support us over with the Kind of Funny membership on YouTube or Patreon, you can get these shows ad-free. But for everyone else, here's a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as any expensive pair that we've worn. Y'all know I've been outside a lot playing Pokemon Go, and it's been a great experience wearing my Shady Rays when I'm out and about looking dope. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Exclusively for y'all, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal. You can head to shadyrays.com and use code KINDOFFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Shadyrays.com, use code KINDOFFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. This episode is brought to you by Hims. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims has treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing access to affordable sexual health treatments, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments, such as chewable hard mints, proven treatments like Viagra or Cialis, Cialis, or their generics for up to 95% cheaper. No insurance is needed. Pay one low price for your treatments, online visits, ongoing shipments, and provider messaging. And the process is simple and 100% online, so no uncomfortable in-person visits necessary. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/kindafunny. That's HIMS.com/kindafunny for your personalized ED treatment options. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions, details, and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Good news! A new run of my children's book, Portillo the Wiener Dog Thinks He's a Manatee, is available for pre-order right now! Head over to kindafunny.com/store to snag one before the end of the week. And while you're there, pick up a few items from our Portillo merch line, including shirts, crew necks, and hats. Already got them? Grab them for your favorite best friend. Christmas is only 5 months away!
And now we are back. Moving on from Andy's Bloodborne stories, we're about to review a video game that y'all need to know about called Thank Goodness You're Here. Before we get into it, though, I want to start with a little bit from GameSpot, from Richard Wakeling, who says, your first task in Thank Goodness You're Here is to answer the question, Atha from Tarn. How do you say that? I don't know.
You nailed it. Atha from Tarn.
Atha from Tarn.
Put a little English on it.
Depending
Hold on, let
on
Lucy do it in her accent.
Well, because
Break out the accent, Lucy.
Okay, first of all, I'm from the north.
Do the English accent, Lucy.
I'm not from Yorkshire though. Arthur from town. Like I would just say you're from the tune, but that's different.
All right. Depending on your response, the game's menus and subtitles will either display in English or the local dialect, changing words like options to faff and continue
Faff.
game faff and continue game to keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, if this rather odd choice hasn't already given it away, Thank Goodness You're Here is possibly the most quintessentially British game ever made, specifically Northern England and the town of Barnsworth, a fictional town right near the very real town of Barnsley. Developed by Cole Supper, a two-person team who grew up in the post-industrial town, this absurdist comedy Slapformer is a genuinely hilarious romp. It won't appeal to everyone and can be finished over a few cups of tea. Good Lord.
I want to say originally in this original draft, Richard wrote, it can be finished over a cup of tea. And I genuinely left a note that says, good Lord, how long are you taking? Because it took me like 3.5 hours. And I was like, no, a cup of tea, you got a 20-minute window.
But there aren't many games that have managed to plaster such a huge smile on my face.
Wasn't one of the options, go on then.
Yeah, get on then.
I could have sworn it was like, initially when I picked the like English UK options, that one of the buttons was like, go on then, like continue, maybe? Or
Yeah, exactly. That changes all of it to be
yeah.
that stuff. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
So
the entire
currently,
game is brilliant.
a 90 on Metacritic right now. This is from Cole Suppers, the developers, Panic's the publisher, Pop Agenda is the marketing and publishing support arm.
I put that, of course, for a shout out, not for a shout out, but the point, of course, that I'm married to Jen, who's a co-founder of Pop Agenda. So take my opinion with a grain of salt.
But also look at all the games that Greg shits on from Pop
Dude,
Agenda.
Pop Agenda puts out some stinkers. You know what I'm saying? Hi, Jen. I know you're watching.
Lucy, I want to start with you because it only feels right.
What was that one flying game? The Jet the Far Shore? Oh my God. You know what I mean?
We don't got it.
I can't wait for just like...
You're going to see the text in real time.
Lucy,
Hi.
what did you think about Thank Goodness You're Here?
I loved it. As soon as Josh sent the code over, I just stopped what I was doing and I sat and I finished it in one sitting. I don't think I've done for a very long... I think that might be the only time I've ever done that.
Really?
Yeah, I first played it at PAX West last year, and then I played the demo when it came out at Next Fest. So I kind of blitzed through the opening 20, and I mean, it's just... I'm trying not to say that it's just very British, because, yeah, you take one look at the game, and you're like, oh, that's a British-ass game. British-ass game.
Awesome.
British-ass game. But there is something that it manages to do that I think is really special, especially for people from England, especially from the northeast of England. I'm from the northeast, which is also like post-industrial. We had, if you've ever seen Billy Elliot, you know all about the coal mines. Like genuinely, I know in the UK, like people know about the coal stuff and Maggie Thatcher. But in America, I always say if you've seen Billy Elliot, because that's the easiest way for y'all to kind of know what it was like. The small town vibe, they've just nailed it so well. Like sometimes characters would do something or say something, or I would see a joke and I'd be like, I know that person. Like this is so familiar to me. It was like a weird Homecoming, if I lived in an absurd town that's animated.
Sure, close enough. Yeah.
And I was a weird little yellow guy.
Yeah. You're just a little guy.
I'm a little guy. But sometimes I'm a very giant guy because they mess around with the perspective stuff all the time.
Sometimes you're a giant little guy,
Yes.
but sometimes you're a really small little guy. You're always a little guy, Tim. You're probably about a
You're
foot
just a
off the
little
ground
guy.
in this
You're
game.
there
Yeah,
to talk to the mayor.
This is one of those times, everybody, that I've been hearing people talk about this game for the last couple weeks, just in Slack or just around the office. And Greg asked me to read this thing that I just read, and I understand maybe a tenth of the words that I've seen. You're not talking about these little guys, big little guys, little guys. Barrett, can we get some gameplay of this up there? Because I have no understanding of what this game even looks like. He's yellow.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like The Simpsons, right? Where you got colorful characters
Okay.
that way.
He also looks like so the studio logo is that guy.
Yeah.
And so in the wartime, that was a
Looking over the wall.
that little guy looking over the wall, like a little not logo.
Very
but
popular,
like
like graffiti,
yeah,
right?
graffiti. And so John Blythe, also shout out to John Blythe because he used to be official Xbox and magazine, and so he was in the game scene for a long time. And it's very funny hearing his voice, and also Matt Berry. But yeah, so
New York City.
So I mean, Tim, you're seeing it here interspliced into it, right? But like what they call it is a slapformer because you just have two buttons. You have jump and you have slap.
except for one time when you have to pick something up, and it took me ages to realize you just hold down the slap button.
Yeah. So you walk around, you slap the shit out of everything, and like an ass,
yeah.
a thing, a shrimp, jump in there, do this. You're just running around, slapping, jumping, and that is opening up the area and expanding the thing. And so that's all it is. And it sounds so basic. And every time we saw this and other things, I don't know if you know this, I'm not British. I don't know if
You
know.
could have fooled me.
Thank you. Every time we saw this, I always thought, oh, that looks really cute. That looks weird. That looks whatever. It seems like it has my sense of humor, but would it be an interesting game? And, you know, on the kind of funny scale, of course, we operate 1 to 10, right? You can do 0.5s, you can do whatever. I'm saying this is a 9 out of 10. I think this is an amazing game. Wow. And I think that when I say that and I say it's an amazing game, I obviously don't mean it's amazing in the way God of War is amazing for whatever God of War does, right? It's amazing for setting out to be a comedic video game and being able to carry it its entire run for me to roll credits and want to start again to go get the trophies I missed and also just see it again because I thought I did everything. But to get there and have stuff I didn't, I'm like, well, I want to see the jokes for that because this is so up my alley of what my humor is. When I was playing it and I was trying to describe it to people, I was like, for me, it's those best parts of the Tim Robinson show that I just had on the tip of my tongue. I
think you should leave.
Thank you so much, which I adore on Netflix.
No, I mean it.
Hey. Lucy James, everybody. You can get her on GameSpot. No, it's that level of humor and all those other like irreverent things I've enjoyed. But then as a kid who grew up obsessed with Comedy Central, it reminds me of Monty Python, right? It'll remind me of just the British humor that I know of, like Absolutely Fabulous, of like them doing that. And I don't know this town, but it's so easy to get ingratiated with it. But then for just taking what would be, I think, the mundane of this town and then getting absurd with it and the way they play with, they have these jokes in there. Like this, so I think it was Richard's GameSpot review does such a great job of explaining how to play. Cause it's a weird one of you run around, you slap, and like, again, maybe you're slapping to get a joke, maybe you're just breaking something, but usually you're opening a path to go to the next thing. But it kind of works in a circle where if you need to, even if you know you need to go backwards to get to something, you still push right. So you're like going around a carousel the entire time, right? And the fact that that never got in my way, I was never frustrated. I never wanted to backtrack because I always wanted to. And what it does in that sense is, you know, comedy, I'm always told that works in that rules of 3. Mm-hmm. Pushing forward and interacting with the same places and same people multiple times. Like there would be times where I'm going to go down this chimney. And I was so fucking excited to see what would happen next because it was just so good about it. But again, the humor, while often crass, often offbeat, like is never like, it's just subversive in a way that I just couldn't get enough of. And so, Barrett, can we show the clip with the sound up? Sam, this will be, you've seen the launch trailer, you see some gameplay. You get very little bit of gameplay here, me slapping a bunch of stuff, but then you get me into like why I love this game. Can we show this clip, Barrett?
I got it from a car boot sale. No, I went and I said, that's an awfully strange car boot. He said, well, it's a hot tub. Oh, my.
And then you just start pulling that udder.
Oh yeah.
Now, this isn't even the part I love, Tim. Wait for it.
No. Yes. Oh no. Yes.
I never saw this.
That's amazing.
Boom, on to the next part of your
Good
journey. Like, I fucking adore this game and its humor, man. It's hilarious.
That was a journey and a half.
Yeah.
And that's one of those, and again, with the repetition, this is a tough one to talk about because there's so many things you want to talk about that
wanna
then would
spoil the
spoil the
jokes.
punchline because
Yeah.
the punchline is the repetition to get back to and stuff.
And I think that's part of the genius of it is building up those jokes. You're not just getting a line of dialogue. That line of dialogue is likely setting up something else later on.
Yeah.
And seeing that kind of bear fruit is just really, it's cool to be like, oh, what a funny way to kind of follow up that last line you had when I saw you, 15 or 20 minutes ago. But like, it works in a really neat way because you would think that maybe the time spent apart from that would not let that joke really line up or hit. But there's just something cool about going. There's such a great reoccurring bit in the middle of the city with two characters arguing that you keep on circling back around, and there's a new evolution to what they're doing, and it's every time. Yeah,
That's such a British conversation. Like, you're having to put your bins out and the neighbor hasn't put their bin out. Or, like, you don't know it's the day, so you have to be like, oh, well, I'll see if number three's put their bins out and then I'll do it. And there's, that's on my property. So, like, it's such a British conversation to have.
Yeah, and it's just awesome to see the way that they play with humor and kind of pace it out in a really good way that works comedy-wise. I would put this game on the kind of funny scale. I rolled credits last night. I would put this at a 7 out of 10. I'm a bit lower on it, and I expected to like it a lot more. And I'm such a sucker for British humor. Like, I'm the type that, like, you have some dude in a movie say something in a British accent. If it's a normal American accent and it's a basic ass joke, it probably wouldn't hit. But there's just something I love about British humor. And it worked for me maybe about half of the time here.
Wow.
Where a lot of the jokes would get me really good, and some of them just felt a bit more throwaway. And I feel like when the whole point is that comedy is subjective, it may not work for everybody. Obviously, it's working for a lot of people. I know I'm going to be much lower, and I'm much lower on the reviews, but it will still, like, I still really, really love the fact that this game exists. The fact that it reminds me a lot, Tim, of like the old, little car putt-putt. You ever play that car putt-putt?
No. The Flash
Putt-putt
game,
mini
right?
golf?
You're a little car named putt-putt. You would drive. It was an old adventure game you played like in elementary school.
I don't remember this one.
Oh, Blessing loved this.
These
I
were
have not
games that
played
were
it, though.
definitely like on school computers back in the day. And it reminds me, one thing I loved about it is like everything is slappable and interactive. Every kind of item in the world will react in some little way. And I just love like hitting a post and then it would get crumpled, or hitting a dude and he's doing a crossword puzzle and he responds. He's like, 4 across. It's and it just took me back to a time where like I haven't experienced a game like this in quite some time. But when the jokes hit
Yeah.
really, really good. And sometimes they just missed more than I would have liked. But I think it's really, really adorable and fun and weird as hell.
Bear, one thing I just dropped in was it's Simon Cardy's tweet of a clip that he thought was the funniest thing. If you could get that prepped. While you do in the chat, Dewdrop asked, is this a good game for non-gamers to watch but not play? Which I think is a great question and a fascinating one because gamers.
Yeah.
We're all
Am I
gamers
right?
here, right? But, it is that idea of once you introduce that you can slap everything and something's going to happen, I was slapping everything. And it
I
was
slapped
annoying the
everything.
shit out of Jen.
Oh,
because,
really?
like, I'm trophy hunting, right? So, like, I'm, like, specifically, like, I know if I smash every can or every
Yeah.
mailbox, there'll be a trophy here, right? So it's like, Jen was so annoyed. And then when she was complaining at one point, I did it and I got a trophy. It's like, fine. But it was like, it did slow down the narrative of what was going on for her.
Yeah.
Can we see this Simon Cardy clip? This is another good one for Tim. Can we get
Putt-putt, by
the
the
can we get the audio?
Hello there.
I've got a sausage here. Would you like it? Here you go. Ah, I've dropped it. That's okay. I've got another. Ah, I've dropped it
It
again.
just keeps on
It's
happening.
all right. I've got some more inside. Back in a mo.
Now, did you ever meet this dude? Because I never did.
I didn't know.
And I really wanted to, because that's not the first or last time that situation happens where it's like,
Repetition.
yeah.
yeah, and it keeps on building up. But I was hoping that at one point I would eventually get to the other side of that fence and kind of just see him with all these little sausages.
I've seen a few people in the chat ask. It's on Switch, all the PlayStation's PC.
Yeah. Lucy, what would you give it on the kind of funny scale? 1 to 10 with 0.5s there.
Oh, with 0.5s. Oh, I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Ooh.
I
Between
know.
amazing and masterpiece for this.
Yeah,
All right, it
but
spoke to you.
I think it is so confidently executed. I think when you mentioned about like looping around and stuff,
Yeah.
I don't think I really fully appreciated how well it guides you and how well it uses jokes to block off and open other areas. Like the kid who's getting bullied blocks off something and then you help and then you get through. Or one of my favorite ongoing gags as someone who can't drive is the girl who's learning to drive and she's terrible at it. They use that in such a smart way. And it's like every time you see it, it's like it's another layer to the joke. It's another layer to the joke. I do wonder if some of the jokes will translate because I know for a fact that Americans think nonce is just a fun little insult when it's kind of not. And
What's
they're-
a nonce, Luce?
Pedophile, right?
It's pedophile.
Yeah.
But like multiple Americans have said to like, "Oh, nonce, what a fun word to say," and I'm like, can't just be going calling people a nonce. But in the UK,
Yeah, I saw it written on the wall in one of the scenes.
or like Graham Shags Moss, which I really enjoyed. It's like there's a crudeness to it too that I think really just speaks to British lightheartedness. Because in the UK, you know, we are. I don't know, there's the perception of British people having like the stiff upper lip and everything, but really British humor and British people are just very funny. And I know that I'm British, so I'm like, you know.
Hilarious.
You're
I'm
hilarious.
hilarious.
We know
But
that.
it's just like, you know, we have this culture of humor. And I think it's partly because we as a country are down on a lot of things. And so we commiserate through humor. And I think it's like a special bond, especially in regional towns. Like you feel like you know everyone. Like if I'm in Newcastle, I do not care about talking. Like I would talk to anyone, as in.
Yeah.
I would never do that in London, for example. But if I was back home, like a regional, I know we have this bond of being from the north. I would just talk to anyone. I feel like they captured that in a great way. So for me, it's also just very well executed.
I'm sure there's tons of stuff that went over my head in terms of a word here, the joke there, on the wall there, but like the stuff that I was able to catch, I loved so much. And again, I think it's interesting to see a 9 or a 9.5 even from Loose, right? Because it is one of those things of playing it and understanding what they set out to achieve. Like, what could they have done better? Like, what does keep it back from that? You know what I mean? Like, I think if anything, we've talked about it, the length is a short game, right? Like I've seen reviews saying 2 hours. I did it in 2 sittings, so I felt like it was more.
I did 3.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was more of 3 to 4 for me, wherever it was.
I think it was around maybe 2.5 for me.
Yeah. So I mean, like, there's that to it of maybe a longer game would have done it, but I'm so happy with what's there because I wouldn't want bloat for bloat's sake.
Yeah.
The fact that it's there and everything you're doing leads to, I think, a funny joke in some regard.
The bit you show with the cow that ended with like the kind of splash screen, no pun intended, of the like the words on the screen for like the bits.
Yeah.
Is that like a common thing throughout the game, or is that
It's kind of like it's kind of like the end of a quest line.
Okay.
You don't have a quest log or anything like that, but when you get like the cow being or the guy being milk shy, the crow being milk shy, that's been building for a little bit in that little narrative. So it's like you get there and you end that and then you move on to the next thing.
Oh, hello. Can you come and help me? I'm afraid I'm terribly milk shy. So
Direct lines. It's a game. It's one of
It's
those.
a game,
like,
everybody.
this is, I think, a banger. If you have my kind of humor, I think you check it out. If you're British, check it out. But
Yeah.
I
I had
loved
a
it.
British friend of mine who only ever texts me about Yakuza.
Nice.
I've known this guy for like 10 years. Shout out to Doug if you're watching. He just messaged me. He was like, do I need to buy this? And I was like, yes, you do. I have my other friend, Hannah, who's not even really that much of a gamer. She definitely plays more.
I thought you were going to say, she's not even really that British.
Yeah, that's so
But like she messaged me about it. And I was like, how did you hear about it? But also, I'm really glad you did because this is very much your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Untitled Goose Game devs. Like that's fun because you kind of see that too, but in a different way. But like, are you surprised from going that game to this game?
Well,
Publish.
yes, exactly. Panic's the publisher. Cole Supper, the 2-person dev team, made this.
Gotcha. Okay.
You can definitely see the lineage, I think.
But this is more to the fact again of like, what a bunch of wacky fuckos Panic are. You know what I mean? Like, we'll make Untitled Goose Game. We'll publish this game. We'll make a fucking handheld with a crank. We're psychopaths. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh man, any final thoughts on this game here that for some reason I'll never remember the name of? Because
thank goodness you're here.
I keep thinking I think you should leave. I keep thinking.
Sorry. That's probably why I got over it.
Thank goodness you're here, which is available everywhere. They're saying. Any final words?
No
Liz?
Xbox.
Except Xbox, of course.
No final words. Oh, the music's lovely too.
Yeah.
Didn't talk about the music. It's just
I think the performances are great. I think the music's great. I think, again, we've talked about it being, if you're an audio listener, this colorful, cartoony game. I think the art style is great. It reminds me so much of
love the art
things
style.
I would see on Adult Swim in college when I was watching a lot of Adult Swim. And I love that aspect of it, but then I do like how they will change perspective or use cinematography and bust in. Like, Luce was talking about playing with scale. There's a whole bunch of different things they do that are really fun. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect that coming. And again, the repetition. Well, you beat me to it, but when you were like, oh my God, the Lady Di plate. And then when I got it, I was like, that wasn't that funny. But then 4 or 5 times later, I was like, that's hilarious.
yeah. I mean, I know that Americans like enjoy the royal family, but I don't think you can really appreciate the chokehold that Lady Di had on the United Kingdom when she was alive, and the reactions to her death still very much ongoing. And so there is this Lady Di ongoing bit. It's very subtle, but when I was playing through it, I was like, oh,
The pipe
God,
thing?
they nailed it. They nailed that.
That was pretty good.
It's me. BT is asking, Greg, is there a platinum or are you just getting
Oh, of course
trophies?
there's a platinum. Oh, yeah, big time. And it's one of those annoying ones of, like, not annoying. It's one of those that was an annoying experience for me. Again, you get a game early on a PlayStation, trophies aren't live on the PSN, so you don't see what's on your system till you sync it when it's there, or put your system to offline mode and look there. But it's like, when I'm in the middle of the game, I don't want to stop and go offline and do this thing. So when I was like, I'll wait, and I was like, I'm being very, I think, exhaustive with my slaps. You know what I mean? I'm slapping asses left and right. I'm smashing mailboxes. I'm doing all this stuff. And to get to the end and be like, oh, shit. I have so many more. There was so many more things to do. Was on the one hand, on the other hand, I'm like, oh, cool. This is another one I will definitely do over a night if it's only 2 hours, maybe 2 nights, with a trophy guide to see the bits I missed.
Looks fantastic on Steam Deck. Runs great. Also went into the resolution when I played. I finished it up on my PC yesterday, and it said 2160 by 3840. Like, oh, they do. British people do the height of the resolution first? Wow, interesting. Learning stuff about them every day.
I don't like that at all. that really bothers me. Where can people find you, Lucy?
My house. No, that's not
God,
no, don't do that. Everywhere at Lucy James Games.
Lucy James Games, everybody. Follow her. Thank you for joining us. Thank y'all for being here with me. Andy, thank you for your bad financial decisions. We appreciate you very much. And thank you for hanging out and listening to us. We're about to do a whole bunch of very cool stuff. Mike is going to be playing Stormgate, a hot new RTS that he's really stoked on. Later, we're going to be doing the Logan in review rewatch if you are a Kind of Funny member. But until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.